And the one thing that can be deceptive is when you look at the controls of the lead channel, I've got the bass nearly off, okay? And usually on most amps that I would plug into traditionally, my treble would be way down and the presence would be way down and the bass cranked all the way up. I'm always trying to get more of a singing, you know, vocal kind of quality. I want a warm lead tone that's got enough warmth and, you know, that can sustain and not be too piercing in the high end and in the mids. And so the beauty of that Lone Star lead channel is it's already there. And I'm backing down bass and adding treble, which I've never done on any amp. And to just start out at that level of warmth. Turning off the echoes for a minute, like a classic track I did from Your Ecstasy, which was called It's Getting Better. It's this big, fat, warm tone with lots of presence and punch when you need it. And then, of course, I put a little echo on it when I'm looking for my singing tone. Now, in that little passage there, I added the BB just for a little extra push on the front end. Very little gain. Like on a song called A Night to Remember off the Ear Ecstasy 2 CD, where it was a... Tone cry there, I think. All right, but that's straight into the amp. At later sections, I might add this for. Okay. As I turned off my echoes earlier on, you will have heard a really nice reverb that they spent quite a bit of time on the Lone Star. And it really has a wonderful, lush sound to it. Again, analog, spring. We like that. So, yeah, when I was playing this track, really nice, warm trail. And you've got it's switchable on the back of the amp where you can have a brighter or a warmer sound. I go for the warmer sound. But it's got a... Very nice. So here's the clean sound, which just so just really musical. It just has just such a warm sound to it. So prefer that greatly over anything digital in my book. Okay. Okay, just to point out a couple other fine-tuning issues on the front end of the Lone Star, some of the preferences that I have. In general, and on the Stiletto as well, I'll run everything at 100 watts. I've always gravitated towards that. It seems to record better for me. It's warmer, punchier, but that's my personal preference. The 50-watt settings are great as well, and the new Lone Stars go down to 10 watts as well. So a lot of flexibility when too much volume is an issue, which it is for a lot of folks, depending on their where they're playing, whether it's at home or even sometimes in a studio. You have to go to lower wattage because they're recording a lot of other instruments at the same time. Sometimes those lower wattages can really help you get that honking tone at a lower volume. But for me, live and in the studio, I'm a 100-watt guy. And I always have the drive engaged on the lead channel. And there's a further type of EQ you can get into is the thick, normal, or thicker switch, and I've always got it set on the thick. That's just what I gravitated towards first when I first got the Lone Star, and I've stayed there. But it's always good to experiment. You got to use your own ears, and of course your guitar is going to sound different through this amp than my guitar. So you have to kind of fine tune, but please take these settings as a starting point. We didn't really talk about the clean channel settings, but start with them straight up and just tweak from there. But it sounds great. Sounds great right off the bat. All right, there you have it. So we've demonstrated some of the things on the Lone Star. I'm going to switch over now to the Stiletto side of things. It's the Stiletto Deuce 2. And like we talked about in the interview earlier with Steve, is that when we recorded the Resolution CD, it was before this amp was completely finished, and that record was primarily fueled by vintage British amplifiers. We had a 68 Plexi and a 79 JMP, where a majority of the sounds from that record came from. And as they developed the Stiletto, basing some of the design on some of those sounds, but then of course giving it the Mesa flexibility and sonic integrity, I'm able to capture completely those tones off the Resolution CD. Okay. I'm going to start off on the Stiletto on the clean channel. British amps and that type of circuitry, EL34 specifically, aren't known for their lush, gorgeous clean tones. But on the Stiletto, on the clean channel, I've got set to the tight clean setting. And I've got just a little bit of echo in the effects loop, and I'll play something from the Resolution CD, the intro called The Prayer and the Answer. Okay. That's the clean channel of the Stiletto, which for me, for an EL34 amp, that's lush and gorgeous and not what you'd expect out of that British circuitry. And I use that sound quite a bit for the Resolution tones that I get live for that type of intro, which continues on with